The effects of Bangla literature courses on students of English department. In this paper, I have presented on the Bangla literature courses on students of English department in Bangladesh, and it investigates the impact of Bangla literature courses on students' understanding of literary ideas and its importance in syllabus of English department in Bangladesh. As you can see, Bangla literature courses have been introduced in the syllabus of every English department in Bangladesh, but with learning context of English department. So in order to learn statistics and how to study literature, most universities in Bangladesh offer Bangla literature course as optional course. And because of this optional attitude, sometimes students are not serious enough inside the classroom and they are not conscious regarding the learning outcomes, and that's why the course has been treated as a marginalized course. So learning Bangla literature courses can promote students' analytical ability regarding literary devices, and by considering this impact, English departments try to accommodate Bangla poetry, novels, drama, short stories of prominent Bangla literature writers of all periods. This study also reveals that learning outcomes of Bangla literature courses are not always properly achieved in different teaching learning contexts in Bangladesh, because in majority contexts, learners are unaware of learning. There are three research questions. The first one is to what extent is Bangla literature taught at English department in Bangladesh? The second question is how much does the course promote literary understanding of students? The third one is
research, conclusion and references. So, introduction. At first, in this global era of terrorism, ethnic clash, global discrepancy, global warming, and global issues is known as global education. According to Fisher and Hicks, 1985, education aims to cover four main areas, and these are knowledge, skills, attitudes, and action. Now, global education in Asia-Pacific region. Now, if we reflect on global education in Asia-Pacific region, according to TAI 2003, Asia-Pacific Center for Education for International Understanding was established in 2000 by joint efforts of Asian governments and UNESCO, and the major tasks of this center are to conduct research, strengthen school curricula, create support in the civil society, train professionals, promote international exchanges, develop and disseminate educational materials and information, and lastly, encourage international cooperation and networking. Now the literature review. In the literature review part, at first I would like to discuss the issue of global awareness. According to K. Cates 1990, theme of global awareness speaks of interdisciplinary knowledge about the contemporary world, inherent adaptations, for example, providing guidance and encouragement for the teacher to express personal opinions. Then, the purpose of the study.
They have 14 million users. Then it comes about Coursera. By Stanford University in 2012, they have 33 million users. Then Audacity is also by Stanford University in 2012, and they have 1.6 million users. These are run by the Open University UK. I worked with them at the Open University UK for 2 years, and they did it in 2012. They have 7.1 million users. At the end, Udemy, it is not, to some extent we cannot say it is a MOOC, but to some extent we can say that it is a MOOC. Udemy, by non-academic bodies, a private organization in 2009, they have 20 million users. Now this is the theoretical framework. Actually, as part of my PhD, I did it and I presented it at Harvard University, and it is now published in American.
The teachers discuss the issues related to the component of human rights, and the least discussed component in the classroom is peace. The third question talks about which types of global issues are mostly incorporated in the classroom. From the participants' response, it is evident that most talked about global issue in the classroom is cultural issue, which is 28% of the time. The second most discussed issue is human rights issue. Next, I am going to talk about the 13 statements, which is in the second part of the questionnaire. We have divided these 13 statements into two categories, and from table 1, it is evident that most of the Most of the students agreed that teachers talk about recent global issues in the classroom and relate them with the lesson. Most of the students have also agreed that the teachers of their department talk freely about sensitive global issues, like they do not hesitate to talk about sensitive political, sensitive religious or other global issues. From this table you can see that 84% of the student, which is the aggregated result of strongly agree and disagree, admits that the teachers often encourage the students to read newspapers and books beyond their syllabus in order to make their concept clear about the global
university in the IML. We also provide scholarship. We provide 75,000 scholarship every year all around the world, also to Bangladeshis. The German Academic Exchange Service is a self-governing organization of German universities, which is consists of 239 member universities in Germany, 121 student bodies. We are basically funded by the German Foreign Ministry. That means we are a close partner of German Embassy Dhaka, as well as we are funded by the German Education Ministry, which is BMZ. The regional head office in Delhi, that means India is our regional head office, and there in India we have 5 offices in Chennai, Bombay, Pune, and also in Bangalore, and Dhaka is also part of this regional head office, and our main head office is in Bhaban. The goal and tasks of DAD is, as I said in the beginning, to provide scholarships for the best. We try to build up structures for internationalization, and we try to build up expertise for academic collaboration. That means those of you who are going to get a scholarship are our alumni, and at the same time, you guys, when you come back, are our structures that can internationalize the whole education, as well as you can build up academic collaboration with your home university. So these ways that's the reason why we provide scholarships. Now, why study in Germany? I think the numbers tell me that some of you are very interested to go to Germany for your higher studies. And the reasons behind them, most of you know, is no tuition fee. I get quite a number of queries from Dhaka University students that, ma'am, there is no tuition fee, so I would like to do my higher studies in Germany.
Percentage, then they will actually use the central bank. Like, I can give you an example. A person who lives in Dubai, and maybe he's from Bangladesh, or she's from Bangladesh. She's working as something like an educator, so she gets some money, and when she is using the central bank, she will get, she need to pay 6%. If she sends dollar, dirham, whatever, euro, she needs to pay 6%. And when it will come to Bangladesh, she or he need to change again this currency. And she need to pay again. And this is how the money, the calculation will less. And if the government will less this percentage, then people will use more central bank. And this is how you
the fee they charge, then people tend to redeem more money. That is actually fundamental economics, that is higher education. But that's okay, we can always come back to that. My question is education, higher education policy, and target is really religious. Yeah, so it's okay, we come back there. I want to give the audience more chance to ask. My second question is for the second paper, content, educated global content. So we try to compare with 2 universities, University of Dhaka and East West University. And I think I heard that so I don't have a paper, I noticed that you heard that University of Dhaka can a bit more. So quickly, what is the key difference between awareness between these 2 universities? One is public and one is private.
Much like they both have very positive, both universities have very positive attitudes. The key difference was, like, East West University had more, East West University students had more positive attitudes. Like, in the statements, the percentage came like 100%, 96%, but in Dhaka University, it actually crossed 50%, but like 52%, 60%, 64%. So the East-West University students are actually more aware. But in case of the percentage, but both of the university students have very positive actions. And like they want the teachers to use, but maybe the University of Dhaka teachers don't use that much global education or global context in the classroom.
Okay, so they use more global content, so to speak. I don't know whether it's teacher issue or our philosophy. Okay, so my third question is to the last paper. I'm very curious in knowing.
So data protection law at the moment in EU, we cannot have a track of the people who are coming back. We only have the Alumni Association, as I mentioned, where we can see the alumni who are coming back, and we try to get in touch with them, but we cannot force them. So that means there are some people who are... the second question that you have asked regarding the work permit, yes, there is one law at the moment in Germany that if you have finished a degree in Germany, after you did finish it, you get 1.5 years to look for a job in your study field. And if you get a job in your study field after finishing the degree, then you can get your work permit depending on your job contract. And as far as I know, that if you extend it for 3 consecutive times, your work permit and your visa, then you can apply for a year. So that's how it's working. But one has to get a job in his study field.
Remark, comment, can somebody help me to...
Comments on the third presentation. Basically, I have been graduated from a German institute, which was actually for Bishop, a room where looking and guiding basically they stood there. So, and now that Robi is presenting here, the thing is, while you want to search for a job, you need to know the German language.
Member of that association?
No.
Okay, so Australia, that was the tendency in the last years, right? Before Trump has introduced his policies. There is a tuition fee as well as a living expenditure. You also incur a living expenditure here in Bangladesh. You just don't feel it because you are being sponsored by your parents. Yeah? Living expenditure exists all around in the world, wherever you live. It's just that you don't feel it here. And if you compare it with other countries,
that they might contribute in our remittance. I want to say that the remittance which are provided to our country, the citizens of Bangladesh from abroad, they are sending the remittance in our country. And Rohingya peoples are not citizens in our country. How they would contribute in remittance, and if they would be citizen in our country, then it would be more burden because we are with large population in our country. I don't want to disagree with you or something. I want to be more clear on this point.
There's 2 schools already in Kutupalem and Nawab. And these 2 schools will give them the educational level of HSC, and the government is planning with international agencies that they will give more education like HSC, also the university level education too. As far as I can see in the research that they have no plan actually immediately that they will come back to their country. So ultimately we need to educate them. And I know this is the truth. I can say that they are really burden for us, as we have a long and vast population. But I must say with the government that, okay, they are not burden for us. We must educate them so that they have some contribution to our country. Thank you.
And to get a scholarship or about many more things, including the different or distinct faculties like this, how could it get a social science faculty students, how could get a scholarship, how could get a scholarship of science background student, and how could get a scholarship of a business faculty student. So it might be better to discuss about elaborately as you are doing research about this matter. Because it's not a feature, it's a research. You have to research in the total scenario and how to all the questions including this research. Thank you. I think you can get what I'm going to suggest you.
To organize an information session, so we would like to request you to come to that session with all your friends and other Dhaka University department students to get all the general information. We will give you other information regarding the scholarships and other things.
Presentation, the study contained only 30 participants, and I don't think that we should rely on opinions on studies that are only based on 30 candidates, and I don't think the study is very concrete. We need more participants in such studies. And another presenter showed us about, stated that global issues should be incorporated.
We have fixed the number, and in our limitations, we have also said that there was a limitation that we have chosen 2 universities, and a very small number of participants. So that was in our limitation, and I have also said that if you have heard carefully, that this type of study should be conducted in a large scale. Okay, I have also said that in my limitation. And for science and business
and East Coast University, if you follow your title very carefully, you'll see that global education has a different conceptual kind of understanding, because you want to actually focus on global issues, and global issues and global education are different. When we talk about global education, it has different understanding, because it means different universities, say 2-3.
Make them aware about the global issues or what is happening around them in the world. And the teacher, how much the teachers are incorporating that. We don't want to make that multidisciplinary. And that's what our recommendation was, that how we can incorporate, our further researches can be conducted, that how we can incorporate these global issues to the respective subjects or in our curriculum.
This is a surprise. For the Center of the General Study of hosting this session. And thank you for having me here. Appreciate it. So, when I said this is yours.
That young. But the way we became friends is also a confirmation that there are certain common values we do share about learning in the world of dynamic change like this. So despite whatever issues involved with time, but the best is how to respond to friends' requests. I do not know, I cannot judge, but you will judge of the audience how we will make sense, and you have to evaluate to everything to him, not about myself. His judgment may be problematic, you will see. Now, I'm very honored to stand here in front of all of you in a room like this. It's as such that we need to bring all these context, the human experiential context, across to exchange together how the future of education can be in our hands, not in mechanical, not in technological hands, but in humanity's hands. Oops, okay. You see, what forces will shape the future? In Thailand, where we have had a military government for almost 5 years, we just had election. Certain people imagine that the forces to shape the future.
News like anything, and they speak everything nowadays. So one has to be very careful with this, because Bangladesh is definitely grateful to you. because we have ended up with 1 point.
Across that 40 lakhs. So what's the near future? My question is that. Yes.
Development. So for sustainable development, the first thing is needed the sustainable environment, which is needed first. Without a sustainable environment, pure environment, it will be not possible. So plastic and the polythene are the main obstacle to create a pure environment. So I think if we want to stop the plastic and polythene use in the society, so first of all, in the capitalist society, that means the capitalist person who are introducing this type of things in the society, from their mentality it should be stopped. As in capitalism, the open market and free market is available, and they just think about their profit. So,
you know, listening to your presentation when you were talking about that report, Soul Like Fish, the report was about the Rohingyas, but it also talked about the boat people. For the last 3 years, of the boat people who, not only the Rohingyas, but also the Bengalis who, crossover, and mass graves had been found along.
Opinion. If we share our knowledge, our thoughts, our opinions to others who are not alert to gain higher education, it would be more befitting. Secondly, I have a question. If I want to get a scholarship, who will help me? The government or the university governing council or others?
How the core issue is maybe much related to the issue of Rohingya and how we manage to talk about it.
So I think we have reached a stage where we are talking about post-gender, and gender itself is a problematic concept which I'll deal with maybe later after listening to our paper presenters. We have 3 very interesting papers with us, the first sorry, this is not the one, this is the one. Mr. Safiuddin Khan, he'll be talking about market failures in friendship, a rational choice approach. I mean, that irked me a little because I never thought that friendship is something which can be correlated with market.
Generation. And perhaps all 3 paper presenters can present their papers. Originally you were 2, but now we are 3. So the more the merrier. And I welcome all the paper presenters. And first I would like to call upon Dr. Chowdhury Bhattacharya. And since we are with rural administration, with Dhaka University, West Bengal, India. She studied in political science in Presidency College and did her master's at JU. MPhil and PhD from the Center for International Politics Organization and Nizam School of International Studies at JU. So her topic will be broadening the understanding
of the security studies,
and it is something which we as students of international relations study about. Not much importance is given to security studies when we think of the broader subject of political science. And I right now teach in a university in the discipline of political science, and I now find it that this particular concept is not taken up by many academicians, and mostly it is relegated to the background, and whenever we talk about security studies, it is mostly state-centric. Now in the very precise and very concisely written, not much jargon has been used, and the first slide, I'll just straight away go into the topic. The first slide and the second one talks about the introduction of this entire paper. As you can see that I have covered mainly the genesis of the security studies and how it has got our focus in the contemporary times. Security studies, also known as international security studies, are traditionally held to be an academic subfield of the wider discipline of international relations. The field rapidly developed within the international relations during the Cold War, and examples from the era can be considered to include the academic works of mid-20th century realist political scientists such as Thomas Schelling and Henry Kissinger, whose works focused primarily on nuclear deterrence. While the field is mostly content within political science and public policy programs, it is increasingly common to take an interdisciplinary approach that incorporates knowledge from the fields of history, geography, mainly geopolitics, military sciences, and the criminology. The subjects can range from the micro, for example, weapons type, effectiveness, tactics, human weapon interface, individual and group motivations, to the macro, which includes causes of war, nuclear strategy, military doctrine, defense spending, and conventional and unconventional warfare strategies. More recently, however, these traditional approaches...
I know that nowadays globalism, pluralism, those have been promoted, but can universities or tertiary education just deny taking responsibilities that their alumni are not following particular ethical, moral standards? Who knows? Bias is just, I thought, he seemed to be suggesting all those, that dishonesty, corruption, double standard, these are somehow affecting, weakening the standard of universities. Then let's go to the next challenge that is affecting this higher education, that is rivalry, competition. So in this story, in this novel, you will see the characters are not concerned about learning, they are concerned about excelling, okay? They are concerned about surpassing others. For example, Mr. Roland Michel, the hero, so he said that, so he and his rival, Farbus Wolf, okay, so they were participants in a departmental rat race, okay, so it's not promising student, okay. What about these tendencies? So teachers, even the sick, unhealthy mentality of students, okay, so can they promising academia or promising educational environment for the future generations? Who knows? Let's go to that. By the way, let's look at the picture here. Okay, so a mother is just depriving one of its, and then it's prioritizing the other kid. Okay, so teachers are supposed to be father figures, mother figures. They are not supposed to discriminate between their children. But in biased possession, we found that we might find that the teachers there, okay, so they are discriminating between them. They are categorizing. So these are just not. These tendencies do not befit a teacher. That's my point. Then, so university should be a place where each and everyone should feel equal. Okay, so they should feel free and see. So
study is very challenging for private students, especially at public universities of Bangladesh. But academic dropout from such students is not remarkable. The positive things only found. And disguising into learning the real stuff or deriving from the pregnancy of maternity is a notable trait of female students of Bangladesh, which ultimately proven their unquenchable willingness toward their study. Our recommendation is that creating a national-wide
and also we, having been taught also in schools, all of us, in the English culture, in the British culture, the academia of England is very different, especially when you go to Europe. I mean, I have a French friend who says, whose French literature, whose French background, academic background, was so structured, but at the same time, she just couldn't get against something in the same paper. In France, you just don't do that. So it's different countries have brought up different sort of academic approaches, and how far do we, and they are also undergoing massive changes. And so we have to bring that into perspective when we are interpreting English literature, of course, and drawing lessons from it in our
relations who feel that the broadening of security is an important issue. Do you feel that securitization of the discipline security studies is a dominant narrative right now in India? That is the question. Thank you.
For being very lively and having questions, even at this late hour, post-lunch.
Please.
Learning in Bangladesh, Bangladeshi higher education by Mrs. Lailun Nahar, Department of Linguistics probably, and from the University of Dhaka. She did qualitative research on e-learning and different aspects of e-learning, the problem and prospects of e-learning, and basically based on the participants, and his sample is from the University of Dhaka. So her paper was quite interesting, and at the end she recommended some of the things that is very influential, that is very important, I guess, for implementing e-learning in Bangladeshi higher education. Then the second paper is massive open online courses at higher education, a global perspective by me. I presented different aspects of massive open online education and its prospects in Bangladesh.
The third paper was higher education in Germany. She was giving also the information that if you are a German graduate, you can also join in German Alumni Association. So that means German Academic Exchange Service offers scholarship and funding for Bangladeshi graduate and doctoral students in various fields. It is also helping and promoting various things for the country. And second, everybody, thank you, sir. Thank you, Tina. Thanks. I'm really grateful.
Thank you very much.
Linguistic pluralism and globalization, he analyzed that language policy should focus on Bangla nationalism. Finally, he recommended that implementation of a planning to education administration as a language education system and consolidate it with the existing language national education policy so that a prudential language education system can be recommended. Finally, on behalf of session 9 presenters, I'd like to thank CGS for considering literature as part of futures of higher education. Thank you.
Thank you.
World politics, environmental concerns, disarmament movements, human rights movement have been in focus but has always been relegated to the background and have been considered as part of the soft politics. By categorizing them as soft issues, they are mostly put in the background. The apathy displayed towards them stems from a blind confidence in the mainstream method of approaching these issues. Often they are dealt with a dismissive gesture. The exclusionary thinking translates into prioritizing one over the other. Discourse on security studies having a people-oriented vision guarantees an inclusive society. However, that is widely discouraged. It is observed in most of the countries that any attempt at broadening of the discourse of the security studies and discussions are resisted. This presentation focuses on the lacuna plaguing the discipline and the need to engage with the deepening and broadening of the approaches to the study of the discipline of security studies. The next speaker,
Dr. Amina Mohsin, Madam, Department of International Relations, University of Dhaka, and market failure in friendship, a national choice approach, presented by Mr. Shafaduzaman Khan from University of Barisal. Basically, the theme of this paper was, the impact of friendship composition on the performance of the cycle. Let's say if there is a cycle of 3 or 4 students, how they are performing in the real life, and choosing from.
Interesting. And the question that we as co-conveners now need to figure out what do we take away and how does it feed into the process and how does it feed hopefully into a next assembly on higher education. The approach we had this year, the first assembly was, we had Sir Friedrich-Ebert as the keynote speaker, and then we had a lot of VCs here. This second assembly was absolutely the other way around. We had a very open call for candidates. We got
শহরের সবুজ থেকে সূর্যের বাংলাদেশের বুক এতই বিশাল, এতই বিশাল। নদী বলে কলতানে মাঝির দাঁড়ের কানে, নদী বলে কলতানে মাঝির দাঁড়ের কানে, সাগরে জেগেতে উৎসু জেলে খুশির রঙের রূপালী ইলিশ, যেখানে ভরিয়ে তোলে প্রসন্ন যান। কবির প্রাণের কথা শুনে পায় মুখরতা, জেগে ওঠে শিল্পীর মন, দেশে ওঠে স্বাধীনতা, ঘোচায় সকল ব্যথা, দেশে ওঠে স্বাধীনতা, ঘোচায় সকল ব্যথা, মনে মনে গড়ে বন্ধ নতুন শতাব্দীকে সোনালী স্বদেশ, শোনাবে ভাবে এসো আনন্দ গান। এখানে মানুষ জাগে জীবনের অনুরাগে, ঘুমের আকাশে আসে নতুন সকাল।